Welcome back, beautiful souls, to Channel Your Light, Own Your Intuitive with myself, Erin Chandler. Is it just me or is it insane energy, friends? Let me know in the comments because I know I'm not alone in this, but there's so many messages coming through for so many different people that I'm just going to share. I'm just going to share what's coming through as the highest guidance for the beautiful souls watching this YouTube community. Who is first up to the bat for some messages, Spirit? I'm getting an S name. First up for messages, an S name. So that could be your first initial, your middle name, or beginning of your last name. Perhaps you're watching this video and you're dealing with somebody with an S name. It has to do with root chakra, the root destabilization. Rather, Spirit is saying correction. They're correcting me. It's the root destabilization of darkness. And that's funny because this card just flipped out and I'll share that with you. Very powerful card. This is from the Litha Witch Seasons of the Witch Oracle deck. It's also 2023 on the card. Yes, we're in 2025, but as soon as I see 23, they're actually saying 2023. So there's something about 2023 that's significant for whoever this message is for. Notice this is shadow and light, and this card says light worker. Oh, I didn't expect we were going here. Notice all the yellow energy. It's solar plexus, right? Working your light. As I think there's a card deck that's called Working Your Light. But on the card, it says the transmutation of shadow is needed when seeking the light that guides you. It's also breaks down 23 to a 5, and this is big 5 change energy. We're coming off a lunar eclipse as well as a solar eclipse. This is a big deal. I'm seeing somebody, you know how they have running races, and I'm seeing the track, and I'm seeing all the individual lanes, and I'm seeing everybody get lined up waiting for the start gun. And whoever this message is for, all lanes are clear. You're the only person on the actual track. That I don't not really sure, Spirit, what you want me to do with that, but they're making me feel like you're the only one occupying a laneway. There are no other runners or sprinters. Oh, there are no other runners or sprinters on this track that you are running. You are first up. You are the only one on this track. And that doesn't, they're saying it's also a metaphor for somebody who is lonely. What's that song? I'm so lonely. Somebody who's playing the song Lonely. Perhaps you want other people to compete against. Perhaps you want something to that effect. And here's another message for somebody else. Wow, Spirit's really spreading out the net of light on this. This is not a message for just one person. Some of my messages are very intimate and deep. This is meant to reach a broader landscape, is what Spirit's saying. They want to bring through all the interconnections. So this is a very distinct message of somebody who's been moving through a lot of shadow, who associates with the label of a light worker. It's also for somebody who's very, very lonely. So that could be the shadow of loneliness, I guess you could say. For somebody who feels like they don't belong, this message is going to be for you. This is a message for whoever it was with the defeatist energy as well. That's very loud and clear. And this energy that's happening, like that's more light. And when we're doing shadow work, what are we doing? We're making space for more light. And the light is what illuminates the shadow. Therefore, the shadow begins to be seen clear as day, a deliverance of an illusion, a deliverance of truth, a deliverance of what's been underneath it all, or what's been, bubbling under the surface that somebody kept a lid on. So if you're moving through major transitions right now, you associate with the idea of a light worker. That's interesting. I didn't expect to do this breakdown on here. I was going to do another channel, but now's the time. I got a bullseye in the room. So I want to talk about the difference between a light worker, a light bearer, and a light bringer. These are very, very different labels that have very different nuances, and yet all three are interconnected by the different fractals of light. And they all have a very similar purpose through this great awakening. But their roles are very different in how it goes into the melding pot, in how they operate, in what they experience. You can't just have light workers and no light bearers and no light bringers. You can't have a light bringer but not have a light worker and a light bearer. And you most certainly don't need a light bearer if there's no light workers and no light bringers. So we're talking about light in this aspect. It's like that idea of this whole shadow nuance is looked at as this terrible, awful thing, and it's evil and it's dark and nobody wants to go there and all these different things. But my goodness, my friends, all of your light beaming through you gets into those places. What do you think the purpose of light is? We are working our light. What does that mean? A light worker is typically experiencing many meadows of shadows, many hills and valleys, many ups and downs, many darknesses associated with disempowerment, disconnection, shame, guilt, and just feeling like half a person. A light worker often is somebody who is working their light in the shadows. Now, you can look at this as I'm a light worker and I'm helping other people in the shadows, or you could look at it as I'm personally a light worker, which is required before you can help anybody else in shadows. You must be able to work your light inside of you to strengthen it, to amplify it. And how do you do that? You do that through shadow. That's just a truth, right? Our light gets strengthened through those shadow elements. So a light worker is typically somebody who is really working through a lot of shadow. They're working their light. And in not so many great places. And light workers are often very exhausted. They're exhausted. There's a lot of mirror projections that happens for a light worker. Typically, a light worker has a ton of familial generational curses. What else do you want to say with that, Spirit? Light workers are typically working in the lower three chakras because that's where they're moving the light or illuminating things, cracking the code of the lower earthly chakra energy centers, because those are what allows us to embody and make manifest things on the earth plane. How do you root, ground, and anchor your light? Well, you must work through any shadow in the lower earthly chakras, the energy body centers, which if you look at your subtle energy bodies, that's your root etheric layer. Then you have your sacral, which is the emotional subtle energy body. And then you have the solar plexus, which is personal will, but it's also the mental body in the subtle energy bodies. Those three contexts of the three planes of reality, I guess you could say, those three aspects in the earthly chakra centers create this trinity of a physical embodiment. And it's based on the thought, right? The emotion, the expression, the emotional body. So thought, emotion, and the etheric layer is the root. So somebody's roots are being upended, destabilized, and shifted. And wow, it's not easy. You're probably trying to find your balance. You're probably feeling all over the place. Now they're saying tune to the solar, because the solar eclipse has everything to do with whoever this energy is for. And I have like this pack of guides showing up. So a lunar eclipse, lunations is the inner unconscious levels of us, our feminine energy. And the solar eclipse is our active, outwardly masculine energy. That's the structure. It's why we take actions. It's that modality. So they're saying when you did a lunation eclipse, we already talked about this in a previous video, but I feel like it's important to highlight the lunation eclipse of that underpinning, what's underneath it all, the shadow in the corner, the truth of the matter. So that's a light worker. Light workers need light bearers, because light bearers are where a light worker is working through the shadows. They have a beacon to turn to rebalance them, to help them keep their anchoring in their spiritual truth or their personal power as they move through shadows. It's a place to come back to. It's a beacon of light when they're in that shadow element. It's kind of like the idea, the person who walks through the tunnel, they come out the other end of the tunnel, and instead of continuing on their way, they hold up a lamp like the hermit. They turn back. They do not go back in the tunnel. They simply hold the light and say, walk this way, walk this way. That's what they do. So this is relevant because light bearers have a completely different operational mode. Light bearers, just like light workers, there's a lot of loneliness with it. And light bearers are not here to be moving through the shadow. They typically will move through the shadow of an experience and overcome it, and then go into another one and overcome it, and into another one and overcome it. It's almost like the light bearer. Think of the lighthouse. This is such a beautiful metaphor that Spirit gave me a couple of years ago. The light bearer, the lighthouse, the house is what allows the light to be bared or born or illuminated or to shine brightly. The light bearer does not build its lighthouse in the waters of the shadows. The light bearer moves through every step of the journey in the shadows in order to begin building a lighthouse. In order to build that lighthouse, light bearers typically on their journey do not have somebody, something that is clear and concise in terms of what their next step is on their journey. Most light bearers are building a lighthouse. And there is no compass for that other than their experiential journey, their intuitive guidance, their own shadow work that they've done themselves. So a light worker is consistently working there in the light. And then you come to the light bearer who takes all of those stepping stones. It's like jumping from one stepping stone to the next. The light bearer only sees the stepping stone in front of them while they're building the lighthouse to get to the rock side, or the place where it's stable and solid to be able to build it. A light bearer, a true light bearer. Now, I use the word true as a clarification, Spirit is saying, because the idea of what a light worker is and a light bearer is and a light bringer is very different depending on the soul's perception of both themselves and of the world around them. So the light bearer typically is building their own lighthouse. They create a pathway where there is no pathways. They don't always have all the answers all up front. They step on one stone in the dark, murky waters, the shadows of the ocean, and they work through that. And once they work through that, suddenly another stone appears and they take that next step. A light bearer typically has a multitude of divine detours and strange and curious and odd things, but they are all interwoven. A light bearer cannot do a straight aligned path. They typically have this zigzaggy, curling around, up, down, all around, kind of like a map. It's like here you can go from A to B, but the light bearer, in order to build the lighthouse and create this pathway, they have to go to all these different areas. I'm seeing it's like on the treasure map, right? Treasure, 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 treasure. I'm seeing them, the little footprints that they dot around, like going up and around and up and over here. We're going to go down here, all these different places. That's a light bearer's journey as a general encompassing concept of it. And that's because they have to build the lighthouse. And they typically build the lighthouse not with other people. Light bearers typically do it on their own. Very few people can be maintained for a light bearer journey. It is a journey that is a pathway for the light bearer to create a pathway so that by the time they finish building all the way up this beautiful lighthouse where they're going to bear their light, they are immovable and unshakable, and their light will not go out because it is generated from within the lighthouse of them. So notice that in a lighthouse, there's the stairway. They're showing me this, the spiral staircase that goes up. It kind of mirrors the idea of ascension, but the light bearer doesn't just have to walk the spiral staircase up and build the staircase as they go. They have to build the outer structure, that masculine solar energy, to be able to do it. I'm being reminded of, like, off the coast when you have a lighthouse there. Those lighthouses need to weather some insanely horrific storms and still be intact by the end of it, and still being their light through that storm. So if you're a light bearer, this is a confirmation I'm hearing of what you've been doing, or the pathways you've been carving, or what you have been building. Empire is the word coming in, what you have been building. There's this I'm hearing slow down. And I feel like that slow down is not for a light bearer. I feel like the light bearer, whoever this message is for, they're saying you're getting your bearings. The light bearer is in the process of getting their bearings in order to fully and completely light up the lighthouse as a beacon for the light workers or those who are about to enter their light worker stage into those shadows. So there's a lot of light bearers who will be arisen over the next three 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. They're saying 3 years. Many light bearers will have fully completed their lighthouse and illuminated the light within the next 3 years. There is, oh, and that is for a very, got it. Okay. Got it. That's the light bearer. Now I want to talk about a light bringer. A light bringer. I feel like that's a touchy subject. I feel like it has a lot of biblical context. I feel like you could look at it from the opposite ends of duality. A light bringer is somebody who typically is a light that simply brings light wherever they go and whatever they do. That might be a message for a wanderer. You're not building this steadfast one thing empire in one place like the light bearer. Rather, you're bringing light to different areas, illuminations. You're bringing light to, oh, you're bringing light to the consciousness of other beings that you engage with. You're bringing lightness to the heaviness in different places that you go. You bring, this is about consciousness. A light bringer actually brings a new level of consciousness. And light bringers have to do with a statement that I made on another video. And I had said that we would go down. Now we're moving upwards into, because it's a light bringer's message. You are preserving a level of consciousness that has not been perceived yet. For the light bringer, a light bringer is bringing a light of consciousness, their physical embodiment and everything that they are, and the way that they move, the way that they talk, the way that they, whoever this is like you float. I don't know how else to describe this. It's like you float from one place to another. You're never fully grounded, and yet you are the ground. That's why you can float on it. Fascinating imagery. The light bringer is preserving a level of consciousness that has not been perceived yet. And what that means is the light bringer is bringing a level of, I want to say light as if it's a higher consciousness. And you could attune it to that, but it's not quite the right wording. And I can't quite find the right wording for that. So I'm just going to keep going. Spirit, can we get a card on the light bringer? They're preserving a level of consciousness that the rest of the collective is about to open to, unheard of. A light bringer will bring a light that is unheard of. A light bringer will face every resistance that there is. Whoa. That makes me want to cry for whoever that is. A light bringer will face resistance because a new level of consciousness requires all those that the light bringer touches to discard and dismantle whatever level of consciousness they had been comfortable in. A light bringer helps the light bearer, feeds the light bearer, and the light bearer feeds the light worker, and the light worker casts their net into the shadows to let others know that they're going to make the transition from light worker. And once they do that, then they move to light bearer if that's part of their path. But the light bringer, oh, here's the card that I pulled for light bringer. The green witch. Which witch are you? The kitchen witch, the green witch. Ooh, there's so many different kinds of witches. The crystal witch. Ooh, the spirit witch. And it's number 12. So that might be significance for you. On this card, she has a bird on her shoulder, a dove on top of her head, a snake curled around her neck, and a fox Ooh, curled around her sacral and her root. She's holding a basket of blooming flowers, and on her arm is the blue, pale blue, soft seafoam green aura butterfly. The flowers that are on her and that she's holding are red, yellow, and blue. I feel like I need to give somebody a real close up of this card. Try and steady my hand. The symbolism in visual imagery can be so impactful to us and powerful. There's also a snail. Remember the slow down? I feel like everything we talked about is in this card, some way, shape, or form. That's so funny. Notice the tools that she has attached at her hips. This is such a beautiful energy. Notice the beautiful feminine pink below her and the dark shadow above on top, a light worker bringing light to the lower earthly chakra energy centers. There's so much symbolism in this card. All the flowers are upside down, predominantly hanging flowers. There is a white dove and there is a gray dove. There's a little bird on the shoulder. Wow, there's so much. The snail on the side of her on the left feminine hip. Oh, a mushroom. Oh, there's so much. I love these cards. Anyways, this is from the Seasons of the Witch Litha Oracle deck. If you feel called to look that up and find it, it's a gorgeous deck. Beautiful crown chakra, back of the card. Notice it's fourth dimensions. The earth of you is a fourth dimension is for transcendence, shifting from one timeline to another. This is the energy that I got for the light bringer. And I feel like the light bringer brings it all, a new level of consciousness. No one decision is insignificant. The act of intentionality calls to you. The light bringer brings a level of consciousness that tunes you in to the interconnectedness of all things. Through that interconnectedness, you realize how one thought, one decision, one emotion, one choice, one path, one step all bear some type of a weight. They're showing me the light bringer again. Um, this is why the light bringer floats through different areas, not really touching the ground. Again, it's like just hovering above the ground and will touch down when need be. It's like the light bringer moves this level of consciousness that they are preserving, because if they were to touch down onto the earth plane and become physically embodied at this point in time, it would take away from that level of consciousness that they're preserving, that lower densities have not perceived yet. And whoever this light bringer is, very few people are able to perceive you in your fullness and roundness. This is because in order to perceive the light bringer, one must have attuned, be in alignment and vibrating at the level that the light bringer radiates their frequency at. And because the light bringer kind of floats and touches down for a moment here, goes back up, floats around, the light bringer touches everyone and everything. There is, what else do we want to say about this, Spirit? What else? What are the other messages for the light bringer? A light bringer is devoted. A light bringer must develop the fortitude. Huh. Actually, they're saying must develop the fortitude. A light bringer's entire life journey will feel complicated, confusing. It will feel like the reflective nature of creation itself is not an active reflection when it comes to other human beings. A light bringer has very few people in their sphere, because very few people are able to maintain that level of consciousness. The light bringer will begin things and end things as intuitively guided, regardless of how it may appear to those in the external world. The light bringer can move through very, very high frequencies and very low frequencies, but is never to stay in them. Interesting. When a light bringer touches Oh, Spirit says you will know when a light bringer touches you. There will be this sudden fire, this sudden download of so many beautiful things. There will be such a clarity of one's divine purpose and one's soul, such confirmations and synchronicities when one is touched by a light bringer. But the light bringer will not stay there unless that individual, it's contracted, or that individual is able to maintain or is intended to be on that path. But somebody's really working on root chakra stuff. Like I can feel people's root chakra being buzzed. And I also feel like there's people who attempt to do negative things to other people's root chakra, but a light bringer is kind of like the exalted joker. A light bringer can entertain some of the darkest shit, and the joke will always be on the other person. It will never be on the light bringer, because the light bringer, oh my gosh, the light bringer goes to those places in order to exalt and draw out and bring light to those energies. Fascinating. That's why the white dove is on her head. That's why the light bringer is surrounded by so few. And the light bringer, I want you to notice the light bringer and the light worker. Notice the colors of their dresses. Pink, I always associate with the pink lotus, right? The beautiful, ephemeral, formless, divine energy. It's just so beautiful. But notice the light workers working on personal power in the shadows. And yet, the card that came up for the light's bringer, she's not in the shadow at all. She embodied the shadow. She knows where the shadow is. She's attuning to the pink. Notice the light bringer also has a pair of scissors and what looks like a scythe or a mini scythe or a mini hook on her tool belt. Notice all the animals that are on her. Notice that they are not really separate from her. They're enveloped in her and with her. Notice both the light worker and the light bringer are looking up to the heavens, to the divine in both cards. Notice they're both also, just have a look here. They're both also looking to their lefts, which is that feminine wisdom. So that's the light worker and the light bringer. I didn't pull a card for the light bearer. Let's pull a card for a light bearer who's stuck in the middle with you. Who's stuck in the middle with you. Yeah, what do we need to know about the light bearer? What is their message? It's very interesting energy, isn't it? Light bearers, in the uniqueness of who you are, lives a world yet to be discovered. This is the card of the sun stone. Notice solar eclipse, masculine energy. Before we talked about light worker, light bearer, and light bringer. And the light bearer is fully and completely authentically who they are in all their uniqueness, all their quirks. In fact, that's how they successfully build their lighthouse. When they stop giving a shit what anybody else thinks, when they stop speaking cruelly to themselves, when they're willing to be, I'm getting matangesh, Matangashvari Swaha, Matangi. She's known as the spiritual queen of the outcasts, those who have been dismissed, denied, discredited, abandoned, denied respect for being who they truly are. And a light bearer, most definitely. I feel like this message is predominantly for light bearers, if I'm totally honest, or this is, got it, spirit. This is a message for a light bearer, and these are the people flanking you. And I mean flanking you on a general basis. You're here to help the light workers. That's who's flanking you. But you also have the light bringer who will touch you when you need it, who will guide you, who is preserving a level of consciousness that you have not quite perceived yet. That light bringer supports you in all that you do. Notice that the light bearer has one blue eye and one green eye. Notice that no longer are the flowers, adorned on her hair or anything else. They are coming from her voice, from her mouth. And side note, I'm pretty sure that Mercury is going direct, which is, the mind, the voice, the communicator, the messenger between the gods, if you were to look at it from that aspect. Mercury is going direct on April the 7th. Anyways, notice that the red and the yellow, the root and the solar plexus, are now being spoken clearly and concisely. The light bearer bears a light because they have mastered all of their shadows and their lighthouse that they have built tirelessly with no direction, typically with no people around them, already knowing the light worker's journey, because you cannot be a light bearer without having doing the experience of the light worker, having been in the shadows and working through it. And in addition, a light bearer relies on divinity as their support, their devotion, their anchor point to keep coming back to when even the light bearer's light gets a little bit dim or the battering of the storms is a little bit too strong. It's also the sunstone. Look at the necklace on the chest. This is a very specific message for somebody, and I know exactly who this message is for, who will be watching this video. And if you were wondering, you know me and I know you. And yes, this message is for you. The light, you are a light bearer, not because of the eyes, but it's the mastery of blue, divine power, and green, the heart frequency. Notice that in all of these cards, the light worker is the transmutation of shadow because they're working in the light. They're transmuting shadow with their light because they're looking for the light that guides them. And the message for the light bearer is your uniqueness of who you are lives a world yet to be discovered. That also means that you're bearing a light that you must discover inside of you. It is the light is generated from within your lighthouse. You are the lighthouse, but you're the light bearer. So you could look at the journey of the light worker as moving up the spiraling staircase if you want to. And only once you reach the top of that shadow working energy and fully embodying your light is the light bearer able to conquer their mountain, conquered the tower, whatever it is, to shine their light brilliantly and beautifully. And they must be in their uniqueness. They must be wholly and completely themselves in their authenticity. For the light bearer, I keep being brought back to the light bringer. Light bringers are typically live a life where they're called to other people. They're called there for moments, weeks, maybe months, maybe a few years. For some people, it's like half of a lifetime. Light bringers are not here to take on other people's things. They are preserving a level of consciousness that generally the majority of the collective has not been able to perceive yet. That's a light bringer. Came here to embody a level of consciousness that will be greatly misunderstood and resisted. But to the light bringer, which are very rare, light bringers are very, very rare. They can move in any circle, in any time, in any realm, in any way that is necessary to plant the seeds of that specific light consciousness. They are the preservation of a level of consciousness that has not yet been fully anchored onto the earth plane. The light bringer is here for the light bearers. A light bringer touches the light bearers. The light bringer understands this entire journey. It's almost like a light bringer. There's something about, there's a gap here. They're saying there's a big gap between the light bringer, the light bearers, and the light workers. And the gap is much smaller between the light bringer and the light bearer, but between the light worker and the light bringer, somebody during this cosmic shift and change that's just occurred, your new journey just began. You're the only person on the track That's the light bringer, baby. You are the only person on this track running a race, wondering why there's nobody running with you, why you don't have any comrades, why you don't have anybody to train with, why you don't have anybody but the damn whistleblower there with you. You don't have anybody but the whistleblower with you. The whistleblower is a light bearer. There's two, and a light worker. Interesting. I did not see that coming, friends. There's a lot of significant messages here. All colors and all chakras are illuminated with the light bearers card and the flowers, whether they're up, down, all around. And yet in the light bearer, it's red root. The sun, masculine, remember at the beginning, solar eclipse. This solar eclipse has activated the light bearers to begin the final ascent, to be able to descend fully and bear their unique lights that they are in the pathways that they've carved and created in their life, to share it with others. This was also an activation for light workers, but it's very, very different. Many soul pods in the collective or groups of people are going to be entering into a light worker phase. So there is this group of light workers doubled. The amount of people that attune to the idea of light worker is probably going to be doubled, if not tripled, for the amount of people that are about to move into this state, questioning their relationships, their purpose, why they're here in life. People are starting to open up to that a little bit more, and they'll be entering into that light working phase where they're just working their light, illuminating things, expanding a little bit into consciousness. This is why a number of light workers are moving into light bearers. Light bearers have always known they're a light bearer. They've never really associated or attuned to the label of light worker. They've always felt it's a light bearer. But the light bearers sometimes don't pay attention to the light bringers. What? Okay, I'm just going to roll with this, spirit. They're saying, let it wash upon you like the waves upon the sand. Light bearers, because they have had such a lonely road and had to build so much on their own and had to face a lot of betrayals, people being repelled by them, things not making any sense because of this journey, because so few can sustain the light bearer journey with the person who's doing a light bearer journey. That can create some hardness, some negative residues. It can create it's interesting because a light bearer, I'm seeing the follow the leader card. At times, light bearers struggle with receiving guidance or help from others because they have had so many experiences of receiving help from others and it not being the help that they were looking for or that they perceived was help at the time. But light bearers have been activated into this new era, this new pathway where all of those things are falling away. And the light bearers will begin to see how anything that was negative, repelling, or not in alignment with you was actually showing you that you're the light bearer. And in this way, all the negativities associated residue, it's just residue with those experiences is going to fall away. There's going to be such a beautiful lightness that occurs because of this energy right now. So if you're really going through the, intense energies, know that you're coming through the other side, belonging fully to you, owning your lighthouse and beaming your light into the darkness like nobody's business. Light bringers inspire light bearers. They remind light bearers who they are. They open new channels and activate new energies within a light bearer as well. Also, block channels. Light bringers will often, just by touching them, listening to them, taking in something of theirs, contemplating them, encountering them in person, that alone is enough to trigger a light bearer into their process of bearing light fully and completely unapologetically. I kind of look at the light bringer is what elevates the light bearers to the next level through a spiritual activation of energy and a complete release. Sometimes a light bringer is viewed as bringing chaos. Some people who are light bringers, preserving this level of consciousness that people cannot perceive. Only light bearers who have accessed this and turned back around to see the light bringer will be able to perceive what's actually occurred. And even very few, wow, I feel kind of bad for this light bringer, whoever this is, this message. And I say that from just a general human being perspective. Light bringers, even the ones that you activate, don't perceive you because they're in roles of leading in light as a light bearer. Even they have trouble perceiving you. A light bringer touches many roles in consciousness. Oh, a light bringer touches many roles, concepts, ideas, and expressions of divinity that have been embodied on the earth plane. This is because the level of consciousness that they are preserving is such a light frequency. It can attune to many different fractals and shades of light. It's a wild energy, my friends. I say wild, but it's not. It's very deeply grounded. It's very embodied, and it's crystal clear. Light bringers don't go through the light working aspect and then the light bearer aspect. It's different. It's like they float around and touch down, and yet they feel all of it or they sense all of it. They can move in any expanse, any spiral staircase of the light bearer, whether it's to the bottom of it or whether it's to the very top of it. The light bringer can be the plug that plugs the light bearer into their divinity. The light bringer can be the one who initiates the releasing and unfurling and unfolding of any heaviness of residue or darkness that the light bearer has been carrying like a weight on their back. A light bringer has many different roles, and yet no role can be assigned to them. They simply play out the role as needed when it is needed. The light bringer is like floating on the earth plane, floating through life. And I don't mean that in an aspect of, ease. A light bringer, I feel like the light bringer might have more difficulty than the light worker and the light bearer because the light bringer has no one but divinity to attune to, is very rarely perceived accurately or even understood, not only by those who are light workers or in the shadows or the everyday 3D complex. Like a light bringer, I feel like people in their everyday 3D lives can't perceive you at all. Like you might feel ignored, you might feel like you've been in the shadows. People, and even people who think they have perceived you accurately, have no idea the real reason you're there, the real reason you came there, this light bringer. This is also an acknowledgement. Oh, wow, okay. That's an interesting message. This is an acknowledgement for a light bringer. People just feel better after they've been around you. And they can't quite place it. Maybe it's not articulated. The light bringer probably doesn't have a label that they attune to. What label is there other than divinity? And what is the label of divinity? Well, is it not all encompassing of everything and everyone and every expression and every nuance? I feel like the light bringers are about to step onto the stage. Shock. I'm hearing shock, shock and awe. Somebody's going to be in shock at the realization. I'm hearing that song, Touched by an Angel. Didn't realize I was touched by an angel until after the fact, and you look back. And somebody's going to have shame about that. And you don't need to have shame for what you didn't know. if you actively did it, I would understand why you would feel ashamed of the choices that you made. But we are all learning and we are all growing, and we don't always perceive things in their truth. Sometimes we perceive the half truths as the truth. Sometimes we perceive the illusion as the truth. Sometimes we perceive what we want to perceive rather than what truly is. And I feel like whoever this message is, this light bringer, you floating along the earth plane and not being able to engage with people and not being perceived was the ultimate protection for you. And that's why I feel like this is going to shock some people. It is not going to be the people. A, a light bringer is some people I'm seeing when this light bringer, whoever this message is for, when you step out onto the stage, there are going to be people who are looking at you with this. I'm hearing them say it before this has even occurred. I'm hearing them say, I knew there was something different. I couldn't place it. I couldn't see what it was, but I knew there was, you just knew. Is more than a feeling. You had a feeling about it, or it was just something deep inside of you, or you saw something that was not easily perceived, that was hidden. I'm seeing a light bringer pull a sun out of the left side of her skirt, just that's been tucked in there in hiding, pulling a beautiful, glowing, illuminated, radiant golden sun out of her left skirt pocket and tucking it right back inside, giving you a glimpse. So, whoever this person is that's going to, this message is for the light bringer. Whoever these people are, or this individual who had a feeling about you when you finally step out onto the stage fully and completely, this is their confirmation for you and for them that yes, you did glimpse the radiant light bringer. Notice the light bringer it's in their pocket. They are preserving this level of light and consciousness that has not yet been perceived. So if you've encountered somebody where they're stepping out onto the stage as this light bringer, knowing that maybe you look back and be like, oh my gosh, that's why that happened after I met with them. And that did happen after I engaged with them, or whatever the story is. You've encountered a light bringer. And how could you perceive a light bringer when the light is in the pocket? It only peeks through when it is necessary and needs to be seen. That's a confirmation for the light bringer as well. This is why at times you feel like the invisible realms support you. They guide you, they speak to you, and you illuminate your light when it is in divine timing. It is not according to other people's needs, desires, wants, coercions, manipulations, judgments, or belief systems. This is a level of consciousness that you are preserving that has not been perceived yet. It needs to be tucked away in the pocket. You need to be floating around life and just touching down briefly as you go along. Because if you didn't, somebody would have damn well stepped on you, taken that golden light. This is a huge bullseye in the room for somebody. This was a protection for you. If that was not hidden, there was not enough structure, not enough systems, not enough people awakened, not enough people that you had touched yet, and not enough people able or capable of perceiving that type of a level of consciousness, because it's the next era. And that's why you're here, to preserve a level of consciousness that has not been perceived yet is the next era that is currently unfolding. Wow. Okay, I'm being told to pull a final card to close this out. Friends, type into the comments and let me know. Are you having epiphanies about people that you've met on your journey? Are you having epiphanies about yourself? I'm not taking that card. Are you having epiphanies about yourself? Are you understanding the process of the light worker into the light bearer, into touching the light bringers? You cannot make this up. No wonder I didn't want to take that other card. You know, the light in the pocket that spirit was just showing, the light bringer. When the light bringer steps out onto the stage, we will all be bathed in their radiant sun as their frequency that has been preserved touches the frequencies of all others in the quantum field, the energetic vibrations and waveforms become a light. Mm, become a light with the tingling, knowing, expansive aliveness of life, of divinity, of joy, as the radiant light of the light bringer begins to touch the collective consciousness. You cannot make this up, friends. This is card number 36, broken down to a 9. This is 2025, a 9. Endings, cycle of completion. It's also the year of the snake. Notice the light bringer card had this snake on it as well. Sorry, I'm hoarding the imagery of the cards. It's getting dark where I live right now. So the imagery on there, do you notice that? She's got the snake around her. It's the year of the snake. That's the light bringer card. And it's sunbathing. What was in her pocket, this radiant golden ball of light, is now being given to others. Oh, such a gorgeous image. It says the dance of stillness is calling for you to live in its embrace. That feels so good. Let me read that again. The dance of stillness is calling for you to live in its radiance, completely embodied embrace. Absolutely beautiful. Friends, let me know if this was your message. I'm like in awe of the Lightbringer's message, which, you know, I want you to notice that we started at the light worker, then we went to the light bringer, and then we went back to the light bearer, and then we went all in with the light bringer, which was a flow through from um, that statement that I kept getting intuitively. It was, you're preserving a level of consciousness that is not being perceived yet. And the light workers, that was the message for the ones when we go down. I was told to go down in that first perception or conceptual idea of it. And that's down into the shadows, into the depths of the earthly embodiments that we all have. Not able to perceive something that we have been preserving within us that's in a shadow, a level of consciousness we haven't been perceived yet. So that's the mountain with the water, that's the down low. But when we go up to the light bringer, or we go up to the heights of it, this person is literally light bringer, a light bringer who is preserving a level of consciousness that has yet to be perceived by the rest of the collective. You have been preserving it. You are a wisdom keeper. You are, look at, even her skin is glowing with radiating dots of light. It's so interesting because I feel like that imagery was part of that quantum spring emergence activation, that channel that we did, the guided activation back on the spring equinox. So that's also interesting. Notice that the plant matter, the stems are no longer green. They're lit up with the radiating light of that solar sun, solar eclipse, masculine energy, the light being brought out into the radiating into others. It radiates into the stems of each flower that it touches, each bloom of a soul. Ooh, light bringer, baby. Lights bringers. Interesting. Very interesting messages. I wasn't sure what we were doing in this. I just knew that I needed to sit down and illuminate. I thought I was illuminating the energy. There's just been, this whole day today have been so many messages for so many different people. I had to sit down and just jot them down as each one came in to channel into for separate channels. And I just jotted them down. But this one, it was like, nope, you need to sit down. You need to sit down, and spirit will take the wheel here. The divine will take the wheel. So that's the difference between a light worker, a light bearer, and a light bringer. And they are all for the same purpose. However, they have very, very different roles. And a light bearer must do the journey of the light worker before it can be a light bearer. And it doesn't mean bearing light for all others to see. Sometimes it's just turning on your, generating the inner light from within you, fully and completely embodied. That's a light bearer. It has nothing to do with, sharing things or teaching things with A light bearer is a light that is fully generated from within. And a light worker is working through the process to do that, working their light in the shadows, transmuting as they seek the light that's going to guide them and is guiding them through the shadows. Very fascinating. And whoever this light bringer is, my goodness. I feel like we're going to channel a lot more into the light bringer energy and the light bearer energy. I don't really feel connected to the light worker energy personally. I feel like that was just a confirmation for somebody on here that you're either coming out of it and moving into the light bearer, or you're just moving through the last throes of it. Everybody gets excited when they hear the last throes of it, expecting it to be the last, and then being disappointed when it's not. And there's a paradigm here I want to illuminate. If that is you, Spirit is saying this: that layer, it is the end of that layer. That doesn't mean there isn't another layer of something else. It's kind of like peeling back the onions of the layers of the onion, right? As soon as we pull one layer back, girl, there's like 500 more layers underneath there. And you're to celebrate each layer that you have pulled back, catching your breath, taking a moment. Do not perceive another shadow there as being a bad thing. It is actually an indicator that you have transmuted much and you are in the throes of transmuting even more, going so deeply to the depths of you that you will be full of a self-generating light of the light's bearer. It is never a consequence to be ashamed of when you are perceiving a new level of shadow or opening a shadow you didn't know was there before. It is always a place to be congratulated. It's a place to understand that it's kind of like in grief. What's another way to explain it? Like in grief, we always think of that we get hit with a wave of grief and oh my gosh, I was doing okay. I found my footing and now I'm going backwards and now I'm doing this thing. But the truth is, we shame ourselves for that, thinking that we're doing it wrong because we're feeling another layer of grief, sorrow, shame, guilt, regret, whatever it is. But the truth is, you're only hitting that other level of it because you've effectively dissolved the other ones. That's letting you know how much closer you are to illuminating it, transmuting it, and alchemizing it. It's never a bad thing. And I feel like in all these journeys of shadow, of darkness, of disempowerment, of betrayal, of unworthiness and lack and grief, like all these things, we perceive them all to be bad. But that's what we utilize to feel the fullness of life itself, of who we are, to experience the true divinity of who we are. Those experiences, that's how we use duality. Duality, the purpose of it is not to be me against you and you against me. It's to show us where we've been separate from ourselves. It's to show us where we've judged ourselves. It's to show us where we've hated ourselves. It's to show us where we cannot accept things that are a part of us. It's to show us the shadow so that it can be illuminated. Duality is actually what allows us to experience that oneness, that wholeness. And that is what this light bringer does. A light bringer preserves a level of consciousness that most have not perceived yet. Whoever this light bringer is, I am perceiving you. Fresh eyes, fresh eyes. Who sings that? Andy Grammer. Fresh eyes. And I know it's about a relationship between a man and a woman, but it's seeing yourself with fresh eyes. The light bringer is going to see themselves with fresh eyes and suddenly realize we're ready. We're ready for you, light bringer. Sometimes people bring light through deep and dark chaos and shadow. That's a truth as well. That's another channel for another time, for another portal, is what I am hearing. Today must be a portal. This weekend is a portal. My goodness. Yeah. When you think about it, there's a lot going on, friends. Oh, they're pointing out two things to me here. Last thing. I don't know how long we've been doing this for, but last thing. The light bearer and the light bringer are both wearing red. Red for the root, red for magnetism, red for the foundation, red for, I just keep hearing deep magnetism, empire, deeply grounded, a foundation that is unshakable. Because notice that both of these, this one is she's wearing the sun around her neck, but this one is the embodiment of the light that's being brought. Fascinating that they are both wearing red. I didn't see that until now. And this is actually why that really intense root chakra working has been happening. Normally I attune root chakra shifting and changing with the light worker because they're just exploring that personal power and how they perceive life and who they are and what they are and what's the purpose of their existence. This is a root chakra shift on another level, next level of the light bringers and the light bearers. Ooh, that's why we've been sitting at the blueprint table for the last year. Got it. We are initiating the new blueprints because they are based on this new level of consciousness that hasn't been perceived yet, that has been being preserved. That's what the new blueprints are. The activation of the higher dimensional blueprints and active consciousness awareness is for light bearers. Oh man, I invite you to do the Dimensions of You course where we actively craft a 5D blueprint, but utilizing all 13 dimensions to do so and really understanding how realities are created. And this makes so much sense to me right now. And I didn't see this coming. So thank you, Spirit. I invite you to look into the Dimensions of You course. And I learned a lot in that course, you guys. It's both channeled guidance, channeled dimensional blueprints, map of creation, the process of dimensional realities, how they're created, so you can understand what your life was and what you experienced, and also see with much more clarity where you want to go by accessing the multi-dimensional aspects of you and understanding this facet of personal power in a co-creative state with the divine for this new earth energy. I'll link that in the video description box below in case that piques your interest. And if you've been pondering on it, now's your time because we are rising in this year. Fascinating messages, very fascinating, very enlightening. I want to say, like bringing a light to a certain area. I know different people have different labels for light worker, light bearers, and light bringers. But I attune that everyone is a light that has been birthed in the darkness of everything. Therefore, everyone is the darkness, oh, in the light, both and. So we're definitely going to be moving with the light bringer, is what I'm hearing. And of course, guiding for the light bearers. So if that is you, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when channels come out. I haven't decided yet, my friends, beautiful souls. I haven't decided yet on what I would like the schedule for videos on the YouTube channel to be in the future. So I'm just going to roll with the days I'm called to post a lot and the days that, I'm called to sit back and let some energy take its place and share messages when I'm divinely guided to. It will naturally fall into its own schedule in a very short amount of time. But in the meantime, please hit that notification bell so that you will be notified when videos come out, because we are tuning to the light bringers and the light bearers and the next phase and a whole bunch of amazing things that I don't even know yet, which is exciting. It is exciting. So I'm sending you all much love. Thank you for being here. Let me know how you've been in the comments. Let me know if you too have been feeling all this wild energy like I have been sensing into. I can't be the only one. And it's getting to be nighttime here. So I'm gonna check you on the next video, beautiful souls.